The stars looked peaceful through the large windows of the cruise ship Stellar Harmony. Captain Veltar stood on the bridge, watching the distant suns twinkle like tiny diamonds. His blue skin had a calm glow, and his forearms moved smoothly. As he checked the ship's controls, everything was normal. Everything was safe. 2,000 passengers from 12 different worlds were enjoying their vacation cruise. The ship was huge, almost like a floating city in space. Families walked through the gardens. Children played in the recreation areas. Couples danced in the ballrooms. Nobody worried about danger. This was the safest part of the galaxy. Veltar had been a ship captain for 30 years. He had never seen real trouble. The Zephyrian coalition kept the peace. Pirates stayed away from the main travel routes. Wars were things that happened in history books, not in real life. "Captain," called his sensor officer, Kixara. Her voice was steady, but Veltar heard something different in it. "I'm picking up something strange." Veltar walked over to her station. His feet made soft sounds on the metal floor. "What kind of strange?" "Ships," Kixara said. Her green eyes were wide. "A lot of ships, coming toward us very fast." "Traders?" Veltar asked, but he already knew the answer. Traders did not travel in large groups. They did not move that fast. "No, sir," Kixara said. "These are big ships, military ships, and they're not responding to our calls." Veltar felt his heart start to beat faster. He had two hearts like all Zephyrians. Both of them were racing now. "Show me." The main screen lit up with dots of light. 12 ships, all larger than the Stellar Harmony. They were coming straight at the cruise ship. Their weapons were powered up. "Sir," said another officer, "they're jamming our communications. We can't call for help." Veltar's hands shook. He had never faced anything like this. The Stellar Harmony was not a warship. It had weak shields and no real weapons. It was built for comfort, not fighting. "All passengers to safe areas," Veltar ordered. "Emergency alert. This is not a drill." The ship's alarm started to sound. Red lights flashed in the hallways. Passengers who had been laughing and talking suddenly looked scared. Parents grabbed their children. Everyone started moving toward the protected areas of the ship. The attacking ships came closer. Veltar could see them clearly now. They were dark and ugly, covered with weapons. Sharp edges and scary designs made them look like metal monsters. These were Krillian ships. Veltar's blood turned cold. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Krillians. They were slavers. They took people from their homes and sold them like animals. They were cruel and violent. They showed no mercy. "Captain," Kixara said, "they're sending a message." The main screen changed. A Krillian face appeared. It was gray and hard, with red eyes that looked like fire. Scars covered its skin. Its teeth were sharp and yellow. "Surrender your ship," the Krillian said. Its voice was like grinding metal. "We are Admiral Vexmore of the Krillian Dominion. You will not resist. Your passengers will serve the Dominion. Resistance will mean death." Veltar's 4 hands clenched into fists. He thought about the families on his ship, the children in the playrooms, the elderly couples enjoying their golden years. He could not let them become slaves. "We are a peaceful cruise ship," Veltar said. "We have done nothing wrong. Please let us go." Vexmore laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Nothing wrong, you exist. That is enough. Surrender now, or we will take your ship by force." The Krillian ships moved into attack position. They surrounded the Stellar Harmony like hungry wolves around a wounded deer. There was no escape. "Captain," whispered Kixara, "what do we do?" Veltar looked around his bridge. His crew was scared, but they were ready to follow his orders. Good people, brave people. They did not deserve this. "Raise shields," Veltar said. "Prepare for battle." It was not really a battle. The Stellar Harmony's weak shields lasted only minutes. The Krillian weapons tore through the ship's hull like paper. Explosions rocked the vessel. Lights went out. The air filled with smoke and the smell of burning metal. Passengers screamed. As the ship shook, some were thrown to the ground. Others were trapped behind twisted metal. The beautiful cruise ship was becoming a wreck. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported an officer. "Losing atmosphere. Emergency force fields," Veltar ordered. But many of the ship's systems were damaged. The force fields could not hold. Krillian soldiers began boarding the ship. They wore black armor and carried energy weapons. They moved through the corridors like a disease, capturing anyone they found. They did not care if their prisoners were hurt. They just wanted slaves. Veltar's communication officer, Nixara, was working frantically at her station. Sparks flew from damaged circuits. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "Captain," she said, "I can send one message. But it has to be now, before they shut down everything." Veltar nodded. "Do it. Send a distress call. Tell them what happened here." Nixara's hands flew over the controls. She sent the message on all frequencies, hoping someone would hear. The message was simple but desperate. It told about the attack. It gave their location. It begged for help. Message traveled through space at the speed of light. It reached many worlds and many ships. Most ignored it. Distress calls were common. Pirates and slavers were everywhere. Nobody wanted to get involved. But the message also reached the edge of human space. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison was drinking coffee on the bridge of the UFS Ranger. It was a small patrol ship, but it was tough and fast. Jake was reading reports when his communication officer called out. "Sir, we're getting a distress call." "It's coming from the Kepler system." Jake put down his coffee. "What kind of distress?" "Slavers, sir, Krillians. They're attacking a cruise ship with 2,000 passengers." Jake's face went hard. He had fought Krillians before. He knew what they did to their prisoners. "Get me Fleet Admiral Carter, priority channel." The call went through quickly. Admiral Lisa Carter appeared on the screen. She was a tough woman with gray hair and steel blue eyes. She had been fighting in space for 20 years. "What is it, Jake?" she asked. "Krillian slavers just hit a cruise ship," Jake said. 2,000 civilians. They're in the Kepler system, right next to our territory." Carter's expression did not change, but Jake could see the anger in her eyes. Humans had very strong feelings about slavery. It was something they would not tolerate. "Send me everything you have," Carter said. "I'm calling a fleet meeting. We're going to remind the Krillians why they should stay away from our neighborhood." Jake smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Yes, ma'am." "What about the Ranger?" "Set course for Kepler," Carter said. "Maximum speed. You're going to be our eyes and ears until the fleet arrives." The call ended. Jake turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. Take us to Kepler system and prep the ship for combat. We're going to war." The UFS Ranger turned toward the Kepler system and accelerated. Behind them, across human space, other ships were getting similar orders. The human fleet was waking up. And when humans went to war to protect the innocent, they did not go quietly. They went with overwhelming force. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the command center at Terra Station. The room was filled with screens showing star maps and ship positions. Officers moved quickly between stations, their faces serious. Red lights flashed on the main display board. Carter was 55 years old, but she looked younger. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. Her uniform was perfect. She had been in the Space Navy for 30 years. She had seen many battles, but this was different. This was about innocent people being hurt. "Show me the tactical report," Carter said to her aide, Commander Bill Taylor. Taylor pressed buttons on his tablet. The main screen showed the Kepler system. Red dots marked the Krillian ships. A blue dot showed the damaged cruise ship. Numbers showed how many people were in danger. 12 Krillian warships, Taylor said. They have the cruise ship surrounded. 2,000 passengers, mostly families. The ship's hull is damaged. People are dying. Carter's hands made fists. She had grandchildren. She could not imagine them. Trapped on a ship with slavers. How long to get our ships there? 6 hours at maximum speed, Taylor said. But sir, we only have 3 ships in that area. The Ranger and 2 destroyers. The Krillians have 12 ships. Carter looked at the star map. She could see all the human ships scattered across space. Some were on patrol. Others were in port. For repairs. A few were on training missions. Getting them together would take time. Activate Protocol 7. Carter said that the room went quiet. Protocol 7 was for emergencies only. It meant pulling ships from everywhere. It meant war. Sir, Taylor said. Are you sure? That will leave other areas unprotected. Carter turned to face him. Her blue eyes were like ice. Bill, those are innocent people. Families, children. And they're being attacked by slavers. We don't leave innocent people to die. Not ever. Taylor nodded. Yes, sir. Sending the orders now. The message went out to every human ship in space. Emergency deployment. All ships to Kepler system. Maximum speed. Full battle ready. On Mars, Captain Nina Walsh was eating dinner with her family when the call came. Her wife and 2 sons watched as she read the message on her tablet. Her face went serious. I have to go, Nina said. There's an emergency. Her wife Sarah knew that look. She had been married to a Space Navy officer for 15 years. How bad? Bad, Nina said. Slavers attacked a cruise ship. 2,000 people. Need help. Sarah nodded. She understood. Go save them. Nina kissed her family goodbye and ran to her ship. The USS Liberation was a big carrier. It could hold 60 fighter planes and 2,000 crew members. As Nina climbed aboard, she could hear the engines starting up. All hands to battle stations, she announced over the speakers. We have people to save. Across the solar system, the same scene played out. Captain Rick Davis got the call while he was reviewing supply reports on his dreadnought, USS Vengeance. The big ship was in orbit around Jupiter, getting repairs. How long until we can move? Davis asked his chief engineer. 2 hours, sir, the engineer said. We're still fixing the main drive. You have 30 minutes, Davis said. People are dying. The engineer's eyes went wide. Sir, that's not safe. The drive could fail. Davis was a big man with a beard. He had been in space battles before. He knew the risks. Then we'll fix it on the way. Get us moving. In the asteroid belt, Commander Pete Johnson was leading a training exercise with 5 destroyers. His ships were practicing attack formations when the emergency call came in. All ships, this is Johnson, he said over the radio. Change of plans. We're going to the Kepler system. Real combat, not training. Check your weapons and prepare for battle. The young officers on his ships felt excited and scared. They had trained for this moment, but training was different from real fighting. Now they would face real enemies who wanted to hurt real people. On the human colony world of New Austin, Colonel Amy Thompson was watching her daughter play soccer when her phone rang. The caller was her commanding officer. Amy, we need your Marines, the general said. Krillian slavers, big operation. How fast can you move? Amy looked at her daughter running across the field. She thought about other children trapped on a damaged ship in space. 2 hours, she said. My people will be ready. Amy called her. Marines. They were scattered across the planet, but they came quickly. These were tough soldiers who had fought pirates and aliens. They knew what Krillians did to prisoners. They would not let that happen to innocent people. Back at Terra Station, Admiral Carter watched the reports come in. Ship after ship confirmed. They were moving to Kepler. The human fleet was gathering like a storm. How many ships will we have? She asked Taylor. Taylor looked at his tablet. 47, sir. Including the Vengeance. 3 carriers, 8 cruisers, and 26 destroyers. Plus marine transports. Carter nodded. It was a big fleet. Maybe too big for 12 Krillian ships. But she did not care. When humans fought to protect innocent people, they did not take chances. What about the aliens? Carter asked. The Galactic Council? They're having meetings, Taylor said. Talking about diplomatic solutions. They want to negotiate. Carter made a sound like a growl. Negotiate with slavers while people are dying? She had dealt with the Galactic Council before. They were good people, but they moved slowly. They liked to talk and make committees. They did not understand that sometimes you had to act fast. Send a message to the Council, Carter said. Tell them we're handling this. They can clean up the mess afterward. Meanwhile, in the Kepler system, the situation was getting worse. The cruise ship Stellar Harmony was badly damaged. Emergency lights flickered in the corridors. The air was getting thin in some areas. Captain Veltar tried to keep his people calm, but it was hard. Krillian soldiers were everywhere. They were rounding up passengers and crew. They separated families. They put everyone in chains. Admiral Vexmore walked through the ship like he owned it. His red eyes looked at the prisoners with hunger. He was thinking about how much money he could make selling them. Zephyrians bring good prices, he told his second-in-command. The humans too, if we can find any. And the children will be useful as servants. Vexmore did not know that help was coming. He had never fought humans before. He thought they were just another weak species. He was about to learn how wrong he was. In the ship's damaged communication room, Nixara was still trying to send messages. Most of her equipment was broken, but she kept trying. She managed to send a few words to the approaching human patrol ship. This is Stellar Harmony, she whispered into her radio. We're still alive. Some of us, please hurry. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison heard the message on the UFS Ranger. His ship was still hours away from the Kepler system. He wished he could move faster. We're coming, he said into his radio, hoping she could hear him. Hold on, we're coming. Behind the Ranger, the human fleet was spreading across space like a net. 47 ships moving toward one goal. They came from different worlds and different backgrounds, but they all understood one thing. Nobody hurt innocent people while humans were watching. Nobody. The edge of the Kepler system looked empty to most eyes. But space was never really empty. Hidden in the darkness, the human fleet was arriving. First came the destroyers. 5 sleek ships dropped out of hyperspace like hunting wolves. Their hulls were gray and sharp. Weapon ports lined their sides. They moved fast and quiet, spreading out to watch the enemy. Then came the cruisers. 8 bigger ships with heavy armor and massive guns. They took positions around the system's edge, ready to block any escape routes. The carriers arrived next. 3 huge ships filled with fighter planes and bombers. Their launch bays opened like hungry mouths. Pilots ran to their ships ready to fight. Finally, the flagship appeared. The UFS Retribution was a command ship built to control large battles. It was not the biggest ship in the fleet, but it was the most important. Admiral Carter stood on its bridge, watching the tactical display. All ships report ready, said her tactical officer, Commander Steve Rogers. He was a young man with smart eyes and steady hands. We have 47 ships in position, Carter nodded. The fleet was spread across space in a perfect formation. Each ship knew its job. Each captain was ready to fight. This was what humans did best, work together to protect the innocent. Show me the target area, Carter said. The main screen showed the center of the system. 12 Krillian ships surrounded the damaged cruise liner like vultures around a dying animal. The Stellar Harmony was leaking air and power. Its hull was cracked in several places. The cruise ship is in bad shape, Rogers said. But our sensors show life signs. About 1,800 people still alive. Carter's face was hard as stone. 200 people were already dead. That meant 200 families destroyed. 200 lives that could never come back. The Krillians would pay for every one of them. What about their fleet? Carter asked. Rogers touched his controls. Red markers appeared around the enemy ships. 1 heavy battle cruiser, that's their flagship. 4 light cruisers, 7 destroyers. They're arranged in a defensive circle around the cruise ship. Weapons, standard Krillian equipment. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, energy shields. Nothing we haven't seen before. Carter studied the display. The Krillians had a strong position. They were using the cruise ship as a shield. Any attack would risk hitting the innocent people inside. They're smart, Carter said. They know we won't shoot if it might hurt the passengers. What are your orders, Admiral? Rogers asked. Carter was quiet for a moment. She thought about the people trapped on that ship. Families huddled in damaged rooms. Children crying for their parents. Old people wondering if they would ever see home again. Get me a channel to their commander, she said. The communications officer worked at his station. After a few minutes he nodded. Channel open, Admiral. The main screen changed. A Krillian face appeared. It was Admiral Vexmore, standing on the bridge of his flagship. His red eyes looked angry and suspicious. Who dares interrupt the Krillian Dominion? Vexmore growled. This is Admiral Lisa Carter of the Human Defense Fleet, Carter said. Her voice was calm and cold. You are ordered to release the prisoners immediately and surrender your ships. Vexmore laughed. It was a nasty sound like breaking glass. Humans? I have never heard of humans. You must be another weak species trying to play hero. Carter's expression did not change. You have one chance. Release the civilians and we will let you leave with your lives. I think not, Vexmore said. He looked amused. I have 12 warships and 2,000 hostages. You would not dare attack us. Look at your sensors, Carter said quietly. Vexmore's amusement faded. He turned to his tactical officer. The Krillian's gray face went pale as he read the display. Sir, the officer whispered, we're detecting 47 enemy ships. They have us completely surrounded. Vexmore's red eyes went wide. He had never faced this many ships at once. His fleet was powerful, but it was not designed to fight 7 different directions at the same time. Impossible, he said. No species sends that many ships for strangers. Carter's smile was thin and cold. You don't know humans very well. We have a saying, no one gets left behind. That includes people we've never met. Vexmore tried to look confident, but Carter could see fear in his eyes. Good, he should be afraid. It does not matter how many ships you have, Vexmore said. If you attack, the prisoners die. Their blood will be on your hands. If they die, your entire species will regret it, Carter said. This is your last warning. Release them now. Vexmore cut the communication. The screen went black. Carter turned to Rogers. He's not going to surrender. No, ma'am, Rogers agreed. What's the plan? Carter looked at the tactical display again. The Krillians were in a strong position, but they had made one mistake. They thought like pirates and slavers. They did not understand military thinking. They're using the cruise ship as a shield, Carter said. They think we won't risk hitting it. But they're wrong about something important. What's that, Admiral? They assume we'll attack from outside, but we don't have to. Rogers smiled. Now he understood. The stealth ships, Carter nodded. 3 of their destroyers were equipped with advanced stealth technology. They could move close to the enemy without being detected. They were already in position. Signal Captain Lavra Bennett on the Shadow, Carter said. Tell her to prepare for boarding operations. Far from the main fleet, the UFS Shadow drifted silently through space. It was painted black and covered with sensors that bent light around. The ship, to enemy scanners, it looked like empty space. Captain Bennett, stood in her ship's small bridge. She was a thin woman with dark hair and quick eyes. She had done stealth missions before, but never one this important. "Marines are ready, Captain," said Major Kevin Clark over the intercom. He was leading the boarding team, 20 soldiers in powered armor, trained for close combat in space. "Good," Bennett said. "Take us in closer. Stay hidden until I give the word." The shadow moved toward the cruise ship like a ghost. Its engines were almost silent. Its hull absorbed radar signals. The Krillians had no idea death was approaching. On the cruise ship, the situation was getting worse. Krillian soldiers were forcing passengers into the cargo holds. Families were separated. People were beaten if they moved too slowly. Captain Veltar was locked in his own bridge with his surviving crew. Through the windows, he could see Krillian ships all around them. There seemed to be no hope. But then Nixara, the communications officer, whispered something that made his heart beat faster. "Captain," she said quietly, "I'm picking up a signal." "A very faint signal." "From where?" Veltar asked. "Close," she said. "Very close. And it's human." Veltar looked out at the stars. He could not see anything unusual. But somewhere out there, help was coming. The legendary humans from the Deathworld, called Earth, were coming to save people they had never met. The thought should have been impossible. But as Veltar watched, he began to believe that maybe, just maybe, his people would see their homes again. In the darkness of space, 47 human warships waited for the word to attack. Their crews were ready. Their weapons were charged. Their hearts were filled with cold anger at those who hurt the innocent. The Krillians had no idea what was about to hit them. Admiral Carter looked at her watch. 5 minutes had passed since she gave Vexmore his final warning. The Krillian commander had not responded. That meant he was choosing to fight. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter," she said into her radio. "The enemy has refused to surrender. We are now weapons free. Repeat, weapons free." Across the human fleet, 47 warships prepared for battle. Gun crews loaded their weapons. Fighter pilots climbed into their cockpits. Marines checked their armor and guns. "Begin the attack," Carter ordered. The battle started with a flash of light that could be seen across the solar system. The human fleet opened fire all at once. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles flew toward the Krillian ships. But this was not a normal attack. Every shot was carefully aimed. The humans were not trying to destroy the enemy ships completely. They wanted to disable them without creating debris that could hit the cruise ship. Commander Rogers watched the tactical display as the first wave hit. "Direct hits on 6 enemy ships," he reported. "Their engines are damaged. They can't run. Away now." The Krillian ships tried to fight back. Their plasma cannons fired at the human fleet. But the humans were spread out in a wide circle. The enemy shots mostly hit empty space. Admiral Vexmore stood on his bridge as explosions shook his ship. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. The lights flickered on and off. "Return fire," he screamed at his crew. "Kill them all." But his tactical officer looked terrified. "Sir, they have us surrounded. We can't target all of them at once." Vexmore grabbed the officer by the throat. "Then target their flagship. Kill their admiral." The Krillian battlecruiser turned its biggest guns toward the UFS Retribution. Massive plasma bolts flew across space toward Admiral Carter's ship. "Incoming fire," called the Retribution's defense officer. "Large plasma charges direct course." "Evasive." "Action," Carter ordered calmly. The big command ship moved with surprising grace. Its engines fired in different directions, pushing it out of the path of the enemy shots. The plasma bolts flew past harmlessly. "Return fire," Carter said. "Target their weapons only. We need that ship intact for prisoners." The Retribution's main gun spoke with thunder. Precise energy beams struck the Krillian flagship. One by one, the enemy's weapon systems exploded. Soon the battlecruiser was helpless, drifting in space with no way to fight back. But the real battle was happening somewhere. The Krillians could not see it. The stealth destroyer USS Shadow had moved close to the cruise ship. Captain Bennett could see the damaged vessel through her ship's cameras. Holes in the hull leaked air and water into space. Emergency lights blinked like dying stars. "Major Clark, you are clear to launch," Bennett said into her radio dot in the Shadow's launch bay. 20 Marines in powered armor prepared to jump into space. Major Clark checked each soldier personally. These were his best people, veterans who had fought in dozens of battles. "Remember," Clark told his team, "there are innocent people on that ship. Watch your fire. Identify your targets before shooting. We're here to save lives, not take them." The Marines nodded. They had trained for this kind of mission many times. But training was different from real combat, with real lives at stake. "Launch," Clark ordered. The Marines jumped from the Shadow's bay into the darkness of space. Their armor had small rockets that let them fly toward the cruise ship. They moved. In silence, invisible to the Krillian sensors, Clark was the first to reach the Stellar Harmony's hull. He found a damaged section where the metal was twisted and broken, perfect for getting inside without being seen. "Breach point located," he reported quietly. "Beginning entry." The Marines used cutting tools to make a hole in the ship's wall. They worked fast but carefully. Too much noise would alert the Krillians inside. One by one, the Marines slipped through the hole into the cruise ship. They found themselves in a storage room filled with floating debris. The artificial gravity was not working in this section. Clark checked his map of the ship. The passengers were being held in the main cargo areas on Deck 5. The Krillian soldiers would be guarding them. "Team Alpha, take the port cargo bay," Clark whispered into his radio. "Team Beta, take starboard. I'll handle the bridge. Stay quiet until everyone is in position." The Marines moved through the damaged ship like ghosts. Their armor was designed to be silent. Their weapons were loaded with special ammunition that would not punch through the ship's hull. In the main cargo bay, 300 passengers sat on the floor with their hands tied. Krillian guards walked among them with energy weapons. The aliens looked bored. They did not expect any rescue attempt. Sergeant Mary Collins led Team Alpha to a position above the cargo bay. She could see through a broken ceiling panel. 6 Krillian guards, all armed with rifles. The passengers looked scared and hurt. "Alpha team in position," she reported. "Beta team ready," came another voice. Clark had reached the bridge where Captain Veltar was being held prisoner. Through a small window, he could see 4 Krillian soldiers guarding the alien crew. "All teams, this is Clark," he whispered. "On my mark, we go loud. 3, 2, 1, mark." The attack happened in seconds. The Marines dropped through ceiling panels and burst through doorways. Their weapons fired with soft hissing sounds, no loud explosions that might damage the ship. Krillian guards were caught completely by surprise. They had been watching for attacks from outside, not from inside their own captured ship. Most of them were unconscious before they could even reach for their weapons. "Cargo Bay Alpha secure," reported Collins. "No casualties." "Cargo Bay Beta secure," came another voice. "Bridge secure," Clark added. "Beginning prisoner release." The passengers could not believe what they were seeing. Soldiers in strange armor were cutting their bonds and speaking in gentle voices. These were the legendary humans, the warriors. From the Deathworld Earth. Captain Veltar's 4 hearts were beating so fast he thought they might burst. "Are you really human?" he asked Clark. Clark pulled off his helmet, showing a face that was young and kind. "Yes, sir. We're here to get you home." Meanwhile, the space battle was almost over. The Krillian fleet was defeated. Most of their ships were disabled and drifting. A few tried to surrender by shutting off their weapons and broadcasting white flags. "Admiral, Vexmore's flagship was dead in space. Its engines were gone. Its weapons were destroyed. The proud Krillian admiral sat in his command chair like a broken toy. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "we have no choice. We must surrender." Vexmore's red eyes burned with hatred. "Never. I will not be defeated by unknown aliens from nowhere." But even as he spoke, he could see human ships moving closer. Their weapons were still pointed at his vessel. He had lost everything: his fleet, his prisoners, his reputation. On the cruise ship, Major Clark was helping load wounded passengers onto medical shuttles. Human doctors and nurses worked quickly to save lives. The ship's hospital bay was full of people getting treatment. "How many?" Clark asked Dr. Grace Taylor, the head medical officer. 1,800 survivors, she said. 200 casualties from the initial attack. But everyone who was alive when we got here is going to make it. Clark nodded. It was. Not perfect. They had still lost people. But it could have been much worse. The Krillians had planned to take everyone as slaves. Now the surviving passengers would go home to their families. Captain Veltar found Clark as the Marine was preparing to leave. The alien captain's blue skin was pale from shock and relief. "Why?" Veltar asked. "Why did your people come?" "We are strangers to you. We have never done anything for humans." Clark thought about the question. How could he explain that humans simply did not let innocent people suffer? How could he describe the feeling that made an entire fleet travel across space to help strangers? "Because." "It was right," Clark said finally. "Because no one should be a slave. Because if we don't help when we can, who will?" Veltar did not completely understand, but he was grateful. His people were safe because humans had decided that all life was worth protecting. The battle was over. Justice had won. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Carter stood on the captured Krillian flagship. The ship's bridge was dark and cold. Broken control panels sparked occasionally. The smell of burned electronics filled the air. Admiral Vexmore sat in his command chair with his hands in chains. His red eyes stared at the floor. He looked like a different person from the proud slaver who had attacked innocent civilians. Carter walked slowly around the bridge. Her boots made echoing sounds on the metal floor. Behind her stood 2 human Marines with energy rifles. They watched the Krillian prisoners carefully. "Do you know what happens next?" Carter asked Vexmore. The alien admiral did not look up. "You will kill us," he said quietly. "Like we would have killed you." Carter shook her head. "No, we don't kill prisoners. We're not like you." Vexmore finally raised his eyes. "Then what?" "You and your crews will be taken to a prison planet," Carter said. "You'll spend the rest of your lives thinking about the people you hurt. Maybe you'll learn something. And my ships?" "Destroyed," Carter said simply. "The galaxy doesn't need more slaving vessels." Carter turned to leave, then stopped. "One more thing. We're sending a message to the Krillian Dominion. Every ship, every planet, every leader will hear it." "Want to know what it says?" Vexmore said nothing, but Carter could see he was listening. "It says that any Krillian ship that attacks civilians near human space will be destroyed," Carter continued. "No warnings, no second chances. Your people can choose war with humanity, or they can find a different way to live." Carter left the bridge. She had more important things to do than talk to slavers. On the medical ship USS Mercy, hundreds of rescued passengers were getting treatment. The ship's doctors worked around the clock to help the injured. The badly hurt were in healing chambers. The rest were in comfortable rooms, recovering from their ordeal. Dr. Grace Taylor walked through the medical bay, checking on patients. She was tired but happy. In 3 days, she had saved dozens of lives. Burns were healing. Broken bones were mending. Even the worst injuries were getting better. She stopped at the bed of a young Zephyrian girl named Kira. The child was only 8 years old. She had been hurt when the Krillians first attacked the cruise ship. Now she was sitting up, playing with a toy her human nurse had given her. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" Dr. Taylor asked. Kira looked up with big purple eyes. "Better," she said in careful words. She was learning to speak human language. "The medicine makes the hurt go away." "Good," Dr. Taylor said. "Your parents will be so happy to see you." Kira's face lit up. "Are they coming?" "They're already here." Dr. Taylor said, "They're on another ship, but they're safe. You'll see them soon." The little girl smiled. It was the first time Dr. Taylor had seen her really happy since the rescue dot in the main passenger area. Captain Veltar was talking with other survivors. They sat in a circle, sharing their stories. Some cried. Others laughed with relief. All of them were grateful to be alive. "I still can't believe it," said Myra, an elderly Zephyrian woman. "They came for us. Humans we had never met came to save us." 47 ships, added Joran, a young male with engineer training. "I counted them on the scanner." 47 warships for strangers. Veltar nodded. "I've been thinking about that. Why would they do such a thing?" An older passenger named Brick spoke up. "I heard stories about humans before. They say humans are dangerous. They say they come from a death world where everything tries to kill everything else. Maybe that's why they help," Veltar said slowly. "Maybe living on a dangerous world teaches you to protect others." The group sat quietly, thinking about this. It made sense in a strange way. A species that had to fight to survive might understand the value of life better than others. On the bridge of the UFS Retribution, Admiral Carter was talking with the Galactic Council. The alien leaders appeared on her main screen, calling from their meeting hall on the Capital World. Council leader Vorth was a tall, thin being with gray skin and large black eyes. He looked uncomfortable as he spoke. "Admiral Carter," Vorth said, "the Council is concerned about your actions. You attacked another species without consulting us first." Carter's expression did not change. "The Council was having meetings while people were dying. We don't wait for committees when lives are at stake." "But the proper procedures," another council member began. "The proper procedure for dealing with slavers is to stop them," Carter interrupted. "Quickly, completely, permanently." Vorth looked nervous. "The Krillian government is demanding compensation for their lost ships." Carter almost smiled. "Tell them they can file a complaint. We'll consider it right after they pay compensation to every person they've ever enslaved." The council members looked at each other uncertainly. They were not used to such direct action. They preferred to talk about problems rather than solve them. "The humans have shown what decisive action looks like," Carter continued. "Maybe the council should try it sometime." The communication ended. Carter turned to Commander Rogers, who had been listening to the conversation. "Think they'll learn anything?" Rogers asked. "Probably not," Carter said. "But maybe some of the younger species will. Maybe they'll start to understand that evil only wins when good people do nothing." 2 weeks later, the rescued passengers were finally going home. Human ships escorted them safely back to Zephyrian space. The cruise ship Stellar Harmony had been repaired and was flying again. On the last day, Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of a human transport ship. Through the windows, he could see his home world growing larger. Blue oceans and green continents filled the view. It was the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. Major Clark found him there. The Marine had taken off his armor and was wearing a simple uniform. He looked younger without his helmet and weapons. "Feels good to be going home?" Clark asked. "Yes," Veltar said. "But I will never forget what happened. What your people did for us." Clark was quiet for a moment. "Just promise me something." "What?" "If you ever see someone else in trouble, someone who needs help, remember how you felt when we came for you. Then do something about it." Veltar nodded seriously. "I promise." The transport ship landed at the main spaceport. Thousands of Zephyrians were waiting to welcome their people home. Families ran toward each other with tears of joy. Children hugged their parents. Everyone was grateful to be together again. As the humans prepared to leave, the rescued passengers gathered to say goodbye. They had prepared a message to send to Earth, and all the human world's communications officer Nixara stepped forward. She had been the one to send the original distress call. Now she would send a different kind of message. "People of Earth," she said into the camera, "we are the survivors of the stellar harmony. We were strangers to you. We had never met any of your kind, but when we were in danger, you came for us." Her voice grew stronger. "You risked your lives for people you didn't know. You sent an entire fleet to save us. We will never forget this kindness. We will tell our children and their children about the day humans showed us what true courage looks like." She paused, then smiled. "Thank you for showing the galaxy what heroes really are." The message was broadcast across known space. On Earth, people watched with pride. On other worlds, different species began to think about what it meant to help strangers. And in the depths of space, human patrol ships continued their work. They watched the trade routes. They protected the innocent. They stood ready to answer the next call for help, because that was what humans did. They protected those who could not protect themselves. They stood between the darkness and the light. They made sure that no one faced evil alone. The galaxy was a safer place because humans were watching.